Welcome, everyone, to episode 25 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River.
Tonight we dine in hell, mouth.
Crimson Warlock.
Hey, welcome to your Thursday with Destiny and Guardian 1.
Jez.
Good morning.
And Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
All right, everybody. I do appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, however it is that you choose to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1net. That's G1NET. And just a reminder, the Twitter account is the only instance where we use the number 1. So again, that's G, the number 1, NET. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. You can also send us feedback to our email, feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Bungie.net forums group that's currently at 125 members. If you want to join, just search for the group name Guardian 1. Guardian 1 has its own clan, so if you want to join the Guardian 1 clan, just select the buttons that say set as PlayStation clan or set as Xbox clan after you join the group. We utilize the forums for comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Can't catch the show live. You can always go to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast, Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at GuardiansofD and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardian Radio. Other podcasts include Warlock School, TTL Party Chat, DOD Podcast, and also Ghosts and Echoes, the audio drama that we all know and love. So, about Destiny.
About Destiny. Alrighty then. I would like to begin this episode off by saying, oh my god, Xur sold Icebreaker. He finally sold it again. And I myself purchased five of them because I already had one on a PlayStation, one of my PlayStation characters. And at some point during the weekend, I realized I don't want to pass this gun around between my Guardians. I need each and every one of them to have their own. It is that important. And there had been weapons that had come and gone, like the Mida multi-tool. I would love to use that at some point, and I'm hoping to get it gifted through RNG at some point. But I don't know. Icebreaker it changes my whole outlook on the game. Like I usually run an exotic primary, Suros specifically, but having a really good legendary backup so that I can use other exotic equipment has always been right in the front of what I'm doing. And in this case, I'm able to switch over to Icebreaker, and then at some point shortly after that, switch back over to whatever special I want to use. And oh my god, it just changes everything. River, did you buy the Icebreaker?
Nope, I sure didn't, because I got it in I think it was a Nightfall drop. Either it was a Crucible drop. I got lucky on that one.
Man, that's awesome. When did that happen?
Oh, like a month ago or something.
Interesting.
So I didn't buy it, and I just want to say you're absolutely right about just kind of changing stuff, because I always thought that having an exotic primary would be really the way to go. Not anymore.
Right. It really is the way to go, in that there's a reason they call it your primary. This is what you're going to be looking at through to meet these enemies.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have one. Like Suros is really beautiful. Just picked up what is it? Bad Juju. just picked up Bad Juju, and that's definitely going to be something that I play with as well. Crimson Warlock, did you buy the Icebreaker?
No, I didn't. Mostly because I did get one a long time ago, and I upgraded it. So I figured I only needed one, but I kind of do wish I bought like one more now, just so that I wouldn't have to switch it between characters. But
Right?
at the same time, like, your Icebreaker is like that everlasting gobstopper. One's enough for everybody. Like,
This is true. This is true, and you know what really forced the issue for me was that I just have so many exotic weapons and so many legendary weapons hogging up those 20 spaces in the vault. Basically, what I have to do in order to get a certain loadout, like say this this week's Arc Burn on the Nightfall, you know, I have to find out where I keep my sniper, my arc sniper, my arc swarm. You know, I have to pick out which character has those, put it into the vault, swap back over. I looked into my future and I thought, you know what, this Icebreaker is just too important. Like I look at it not even as a weapon specifically, but as a very, very quick and painless way of all of a sudden just having some more sniper rifle ammo. Like it's amazing tactic, and I don't know, I'm so glad that I've been saving up my coins because I needed them. I want one on every character. Jez, did you buy the Icebreaker?
Nope, because just like Warlock, I already had one from when he first sold it, and I had upgraded it since.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't worth it to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know what? I'm really excited for all you people who have room in your vault for, you know, just passing it between your characters. I don't have that kind of time or patience. And as soon as or when I happen upon more Suros, I'm going to buy two more. I have two on PlayStation, two on Xbox, one of each, one fully upgraded, and one for competitive PvP, unleveled. I want 3 completely leveled, and then one for PvP per system. Just
I like how you sidestepped that by saying the order differently. Don't have time or patience.
Nice.
That's funny. Well, that's actually the order in which I don't have things. Like if I had the time, I definitely wouldn't have the patience. But because I don't have the time, I don't need to worry about the patience. Agrios, did you buy the Icebreaker? Well, alrighty then.
Unmute yourself, maybe?
Oh yeah, that mute button. How about that?
Hey, what do you know? That'll get you every time.
Yeah, it will. But no, I still have it from the first time it was sold. I did consider buying additional ones, as you did, so I didn't have to pass it back and forth. But I wasn't exactly overflowing on strange coins at the moment and decided to be more conservative in that regard. This seems like a good time to sling a little news. There were 19,436,440 coins spent on Icebreaker in Zer's Hall this past weekend.
Wait, was that on Icebreaker or was that in Toto? Because I got the impression that's just how many coins he walked away with in Toto.
You're right. I believe it may be in total here. I mean, he did start by talking about Icebreaker, but I believe that probably is his total haul for this whole weekend, the way they phrase it. Correct.
Man, I've always wondered how much he takes back with him, and that's a pretty hefty sum. That's a pretty hefty sum. Somebody on the panel want to do the math on that? Just saying, if it was the Icebreaker, you know, however many million that was divided by.
Well, how much
7.
was
Yeah,
our
we can
Icebreaker?
figure it out because he says that there is 1,143,320 bought. So you take that
Right.
times 17 strange coins, and that's how many coins were spent on it. It seems to be just about like that first total he gave.
Man, that's
And
crazy.
my
90%.
math.
18 million or so.
Right? That's amazing. That's amazing. And what a cool little bit of news. All right, cool. Well, we have a lot to discuss. We have more write-ins and comments that I'd like to get to, but why don't we head to Agrios and get some update out of the way.
All right. Aside from the news from Xur there, they earlier in this week deployed one final patch before hard mode. This fixed a few bugs and it removed one final slice of cheese from the raid. Wednesday morning, tweets went out. Hard mode was launched. Some people had to reset their systems. But in the end, 24 hours later, 557,354 raids had been launched. If they were all fully manned at 6 Guardians each, that would be 3,344,124 Guardians descending into the Hellmail. World's first was one and done. Relatively new Bungie.net clan, with, as they put it, without a shred of social media to their profiles. There was some question as to their legitimacy, but they've since submitted video proof of their victory.
That's awesome.
I admit I did doubt them. I just thought it was impossible how quickly they conquered hard mode.
Just over 27 minutes. It does. You cannot blame anyone for considering the fact that they may have cheesed it.
It's freaking incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's way awesome. Congratulations to them.
Mm-hmm.
They did a rather unique strategy to the way most of the other ways that I've seen other teams beat it too. After seeing their video tonight on the weekly update, it was rather interesting what they did with the double bubble.
Are we talking about that? I think we should just talk about it. Is anybody out there just trying to do it straight, or are you just wanting to beat hard mode, just period? Anybody on the panel object?
No, let's go for
I
it.
didn't watch the video.
Not at this point.
Can talk about it.
It's not like a fresh raid. We've already done Crota's End. This just has a
Mm-hmm.
couple interesting little tweaks to it. You know what I mean? Nothing huge.
So what was their double bubble? It sounds cool.
Well, they ran 2 Titans dropping bubbles together. One had Weapons Light, one had Blessing Light. So you ran through it, you came out with weapon power and defense. Blessing Light is, for those who don't know, key in this because there's... I mean, are we going full open out on this, right?
Do it.
Okay, because there's no chalice. There's no way to regain health except for what you bring with you. On that note, there's a whole list of items that our friends on Reddit were helpful enough to compile of ways to gain life. Do we want to go into that?
Do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's 2 weapons, Red Death and Saurus Regime. Both Red Death has a consistent health regenerating effect, and Saurus Regime has one that can trigger. And interestingly enough, you can just trigger those by shooting Crota if you need life. You don't need to shoot actual ads with that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can just pound into Crota if you just need to trigger your life gain effect with your weapon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's great. That's a great bit. Thank you.
Yeah, that's huge, I think. Mask of the Third Man, Hunter Armor. You can collect orbs to regenerate health. Don't forget, though, if you're not using your supers, you can't pick up orbs to gain that health. So making orbs for your teammates is key for a lot of these things. There's also their perk, Hungering Blade, which is under the Blade Dancer tree. Titan Armor. We have an insurmountable Skull Fort that once again has the orb. Pick up the orbs to gain the health perk. Then the Word of Dawn will regain health for the Titan themselves, as well as like Blessing provides an overshield for everyone else for a decent amount of time. Warlock has Apotheosis Veil and Light Beyond Nemesis. Both have the orb picking up power, healing power, as well as Apotheosis Veil. When you activate your super, you regain your health. And the Warlock perk, Lifesteal in the Voidwalker tree, will regain you health as well. There's also a number of traits. Picking up the one where you pick up orbs to regain health can be found on a number of legendary armor pieces, including raid armor.
Awesome.
I'd like to give credit. I'll link it in the chat feed here, but I'd like to give credit to Sleeveit10 on Reddit for compiling this list.
Awesome.
And just from that list, it sounds like to me that your best bet for more consistent and more often health regen would have to be Red Death and or Cyros.
Well, it kind of depends. Like, if you've got a team that is making orbs like crazy,
Hmm.
as long as you can run and grab them, it doesn't matter so much. If you
But-
don't have the weapons.
Yeah, if you don't have, yeah, I mean that's a good backup plan. But personally, I would like to depend on my own
Yeah,
on my own
consistency is
strength. You
important.
know. Yeah. Consistency is probably the biggest thing in my mind for that.
Does anybody know of a good quick way to rapidly generate orbs?
Sunstingers
like-
are amazing.
In what respect?
They pop the radiance, and everything they kill while radiance is active continues to generate orbs
Out of them or off of the bad guy?
out of them.
Oh, that's really cool. So, how many would you say that you could get out of a single radiance, in a good?
Well, it's always pretty crazy when the stuff's going on, and they all pop as notes one at a time. I've never took the time to add it up, but I've known with more than one Sensinger in the party, I see orbs just laying everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's also dependent on what armor pieces some of these guys are wearing, because I know I forget that exotic piece that hunters get.
Like beyond
I'm wearing it
Nemesis.
right now. For hunters?
Oh, I thought you said for warlocks. I'm sorry. That's
No,
the crest
for
of
hunters.
Alpha
But there's pieces out there that generate more orbs.
Right,
and
the crest of the Alpha Lupi for both Hunter and
There
Titan,
you
and the Late Beyond Nemesis for Warlock are all those.
Thank you.
Cool. Very cool.
So, moving on. The runner-up for the fastest time at 39 minutes, quite a difference, but they streamed the whole thing, so they were confirmed right off the bat as being world one of the first, was Triple Wreck, who they're a gaming community that came to Destiny for the PvP and has been enthralled by the PvE portion. The more difficult, the raids and stuff have brought them into another world of gaming that they weren't previously involved with. New Crucible mode has appeared, Doubles Skirmish. It's a 2 versus 2 team deathmatch with revives. Have you guys had the opportunity to try this out yet?
I have not.
Nope.
You were saying that you were looking forward to it, though, River.
Oh yeah, because what was it? I don't remember if it was 3 or Reach that had 2v2 first. But I know me and SDF Lawn Boy, whenever we would go into 2 versus 2 competition, man, we would just sit fools down all day, and it was so much fun. And I'm hoping that this will be something similar, not to as far as the game type, but as far as having just a lot of fun sitting fools down.
You know, I'm really no good on my own. Like I don't feel like I'm some kind of super soldier. Like I'm definitely one of those ODST running around in the Halo universe. Definitely not a Spartan. But but I did enjoy the craziness of Rumble. Like the craziness of Rumble always appealed to me in that nobody had anyone else's back. At some point, though, I would just be playing with one other friend, and we'd go into this Rumble, and I thought, man, it would be really cool if I just had you on my team. Like, what if you and I took on all these dudes? And the team doubles is really what I'm looking forward to. Because in team doubles, it's not 2 guys looking to kill me and my friend. It's 2 guys versus 2 guys versus 2 guys versus 2 guys versus 2 guys. And in that situation, it really is me and my buddy versus everybody. And that seems like so much more fun to me. Like the way they described it in the Bungie weekly update, talking about the full weight of the whether or not you win is on your shoulders. I'm like, out. I'm out. This is not for me. And not because I'm afraid of hurting my own ego or my own feelings, but I don't want the other person that's stuck with me to be stuck with me. Like I'm not a horrible player at all. But if we're playing Crucible and I'm the dude in the lead, my team is losing. This is the mathematics how it works out. Like I can be last on a winning team, but I can never be first on a winning team. Like I'm a good enough player to hold my own, but I'm not good enough player to hold the entire team. Like I always watch Bife posting about, like, oh, look at this, 43 kills again, and it's always him carrying these teams. But yeah, if I'm in the lead, my team isn't winning. What about you, Crimson Warlock? Are you interested in 2v2?
I might try it with my friend because usually it's just the two of us playing PvP anyway. So seeing a 2v2 mode for me was kind of exciting that I might actually try PvP again. I actually tried to do the Thorn Bounty a couple of days ago, the PvP section of it, and we just gotten like horrible teammates with us. Like we were the top two of the board and we weren't doing spectacular. And the other guys were just stomping all over us, and that happened for like 4 games straight. Even when we'd like finish a game and then wait for a couple minutes and re-queue. But then we were finally able to get a team that had about the same skill as us. And we did really well. So just doing two on two would be kind of fun to see how well the two of us actually are, I guess.
That's cool. I actually stepped back into the Crucible ring just recently to do these bounties. It was actually kind of interesting. I saved up the Invective bounty, the Bad Juju bounty, and the Thorn bounty. I got them all to the place where it's just the PvP aspect of it. The Invective bounty I got done in 5 games. In 5 games, I had the Invective bounty done. In 10 games, I completed the Bad Juju bounty. And oh my God, how does anybody ever get Thorn bounty? like I went from 0 in the beginning to like 5 to 8 to 9, back to 5, then to 0. Like over those 10 games, I went back to 0. I have no idea how people do this. I mean, other than using, all void weapons. Like I don't have.
Right.
I really need to wait for Atheon's epilogue before this can even be feasible because, I'm not good with a sniper versus real moving targets. I need those dregs to pop out around the corner for a second. Like you don't see that maneuver in you don't see that maneuver in PvP. People don't just stand out around the corner and wait for you to shoot them. I mean, I guess I'm sometimes that guy because I get sniped quite a bit, but I don't know. What about you, Jez? Are you excited for 2v2?
Not really. To be honest, I just don't PvP that much at all. But it is always nice to have more choice. So I'm not gonna discredit that part.
Yeah.
Good point, sir.
Yeah, I actually really like that thought because when I think about Destiny, I don't consider the PvP aspect. Like, well, what am I going to do this session? Like I don't think PvP is going to be something that I want to do. But after having done these bounties, I really kind of enjoyed it. I really kind of enjoyed the flow and I don't know, like winning, because you do have to win a lot in order to finish those bounties. It made me think that what I need to do is just man up and complete at least one character's bounties for the Crucible weapons that the different vendors sell. Like I want to get that shotgun, the Void shotgun that Dead Orbit sells. I'm also really, really, really looking forward to picking up that Vanquisher 8 that the New Monarchy guy sells. That looks like an incredible weapon. What's that?
It's the one I use.
Is it? It looks.
Well, I don't use the vendor one, but I use a Vanquisher. I got one with Field Scout. I could highly recommend that.
I picked up a 300 version before the Dark Below dropped, and it had Third Eye, and I was like, this is awesome. Like it's a really fun feeling gun. It kind of feels like one of those like a 70s race car, like those Challengers or Chargers that Dodge put out. Like it feels kind of old, but also very reliable. Agrios, are you looking forward to some 2v2 action?
I am. I'm excited about it. I like some of the other PvP experiences I had in some other games where the maps were much larger or less populated, as this will be. I like a little bit more cat and mouse, kind of maybe setting up traps for the other team type thing. I kind of like that aspect of it. I've actually had a lot of fun in games where the matchmaking has gone wrong and occasionally puts like one person versus a team of a whole bunch of like 6 versus 1. I really like being that one. I know I lose horribly, but they're some of the most fun games I've had because they have a real trouble finding one person on a large map, whereas it's easy for me to find one of 6.
That's true. That's true. Actually, there was one game that I played in Halo 3 a long, long time ago where they matched up just me and one other person against 4 other people. And when the game started, I thought, man, I should just quit, but I didn't want to quit because then I'm leaving that one person there by themselves. And we actually won this match. They underestimated us. They saw that there was only 2 of us, and the 4 of them thought they could get in on us, and they failed. And it was amazing. That's an amazing feeling. But I don't know. Continue with your story, Agrios.
Oh, no, that was pretty much it. I mean, it happened to me several times. At one point in one game I was playing before you could send other players money and stuff like that. After I played the game, I got like a reward mail from their team saying how awesome the game was, and they were glad I stuck it out. It made it for a fun time, and they sent me like $400,000 to cover what I had lost and such.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's really cool.
But yeah, so should I continue with the news now?
Do it.
Okay. Continuing on. Oh, maybe. I was in the middle of my story, so I lost my place. Oh.
How about that icebreaker?
Yeah, how about that icebreaker? Well, that's actually the problem. The next part on my news report was to talk about the icebreaker, but we already covered that in depth at the beginning of the show there, so I was jumping to the next portion here. So if we're going for the next report was to talk about the differences in hard mode.
Do it.
Okay. So as we mentioned before, there's no chalice to help with health regeneration. So if you got one of the health aids that we had mentioned before, those are hugely helpful. There's many hallowed knights and ogres. Practically every knight and ogre, maybe every knight and ogre, I'm just saying practically because I'm not 100% certain, has become a yellow hive major. There are wizards during the Crota encounter now. There are reports that shriekers may respawn. No revives, of course. All enemies start to finish are level 33. And the Death Singer's song will start sooner.
Jeez.
So that sums up the changes as a whole. One other change. His Enrage will trigger when his life is almost down. And that is an all or none point. You have to just unload on him. Because, as we know already, that when the Oversoul is on, his shield does not protect him. So when his life gets down to a very small amount, I neglected to note the percentage or the amount here, but the Oversoul will become activated, he will become enraged, and everybody has to unload on him.
Jeez.
Crazy. Crazy talk.
They do that? How did they do that in like 27 minutes?
I recommend the video. It's an impressive run.
It's just incredible.
It really feels like a lot of these end game activities are difficult if you're trying to just beat your head against the wall to defeat it. Like there are, you can manhandle your way through a lot of these challenges, but at the same time, if you have a finely tuned group who work together in concert, like some kind of band, like if everybody's where they're supposed to be, if everybody's right on beat, it's going to look and sound incredible. And I think that that's what this is. I think that those guys, they didn't fool around with social media, and they weren't bothered with telling everybody, oh, we're the best clan in Destiny, or we're going to do this first. They didn't mess around with any of that. They put their nose to the grindstone and they did it. and they just did it. They ran through and manhandled this like musicians, and I think that that's awesome. On a side note, shout out to Ghost Warhawk for getting me through my first completion of normal Crota.
Hey!
Opa!
Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
It's sad because this was one of those moments where he invited me in. Like I wasn't planning on joining him and raiding, but he jumped into my group and he's like, "Hey, we got everybody ready to go. Let's go." And so we just jumped in and they said, "All right, here's what you do here. Here's what you do here." And then it was over in like 15 minutes. It was like so fast, and it was exactly how I imagined these people did it with that hard mode. Just choreographed, and it makes me excited for the future. Like the idea that we had, Agrios, about your life is dropping and you have to hold this chalice. Like they didn't even use that. There just is no chalice. You lose rate at the normal rate, or you lose life at the normal rate for that situation, and then you have to use one of these other avenues to gain health back. That's cool. That's really
absolutely. Well, the funny thing is that, like, kind of in the past, that orbs replenish health ability was kind of looked at, like, by a lot of people, like a junk ability. They're like, I got one with that ability. I don't want that. How often is that helpful? But then it turns out to be exceptionally helpful in one of the most key moments in the game.
Right, and this goes back to why we need more space. We need more vault space. In addition to this, I've begun the unfortunate pastime of trying to recreate entire suits. Like I found, this started with the Warlock. I found something called the Locust Watcher 2. And it just looked so awesome. Like I just can't break this piece down. But now I want to collect other pieces of it. Now I want to get the pants, and the jacket looks really cool. Like I want to have a place in the tower, not unlike an apartment, and I want like mannequins. I want mannequins where I can walk up to them and place a piece of armor that I'm never going to use up on this thing. But at the same time, just being able to retain pieces of gear for specific instances is so important. And so I'd like to ask you all this. What have you done with your level 300 weapons? Like, let's say you have a favorite solar sniper rifle, right? What have you done with your legendary weapons that are 300 as you are no doubt accruing new 331 weapons of that same category? Like, how exactly are you managing all of these weapons and gear? Because I'm at the point where I'm just about to start deleting these older pieces of gear just because I'm getting this new influx. River, we'll start with you.
Or not.
Or not.
The killer mute button.
Right? It is that.
Oh, thanks, Agrios.
See, just returning the favor there, man.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so in the case of getting duplicates, if I do get a duplicate, then I do definitely delete the last one. As far as weapons, as far as armor, I really don't get anything that's like that. In the other case of where I don't have a duplicate, such as like the what is it? What's the solar? No, the void sniper from Vault of Glass.
Oh, Preda's Revenge.
There we go. Yeah, I still use that. Tons. It's still a very viable weapon, even though it's only 31 attack less. I still think there's lots of value to be had in your 300 attack weapons.
Totally. Okay, but now I've gotten a second 331 Void Sniper. I don't want to get rid of those newer ones because on the next update, let's imagine that it's just another 60 points in that direction. Mm-hmm. Now you're looking at a 300 sniper, and I agree with you. Preda's Revenge that was the first raid weapon that I got, and I still use it. It's so amazing, so smooth and so accurate, and But now I don't want to erase these other ones. But now I don't know what to do with them because I don't have enough vault space. Like I just
Well,
want to be able to keep it. I just want to be able to keep some.
I think we're going to start seeing this point where our raid weapons, we're going to have to decide whether or not to keep them, whether or not they're going to be more still effective in the raid compared to some of these higher level weapons that we're no doubtedly going to be getting, and stuff like the House of Wolves or even later expansions coming out. So I'm very interested to see how the community is going to handle that.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Crimson Warlock? Are you feeling the same thing? Like you're having an influx of these new weapons? Do you get rid of your older ones, the trusted ones, or do you get rid of the newer ones?
For my secondaries and heavies, as soon as I get a new replacement that does more damage, I get rid of my old ones. The primaries I'm keeping, like I've been running Vault of Glass, and even though I've got 331 primaries, that Vision of Confluence is the only thing that can kill oracles fast enough, it seems. So for me, like that favorite primary out of the raid set of primaries, I'm gonna keep, just so that if I ever do go back to that content, I'll have that primary that has the raid buff to it.
Yeah, that is really smart. Also, that Vision of Confluence is... I can't believe that that's what you use on oracles, because I just don't feel like it kills it fast enough. I always use the... what is the heavy machine gun from there? Corrective Measure. I always end up using Corrective Measure because they just kill them quick.
Well, you have to get one first.
Oh, I suppose you do. I suppose you do.
There's that, and it seems like you put it's all about preference in that part, because in me, I use a rocket launcher as my heavy because I really depend on that sniper rifle so much for the oracles.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. What about you, Jez? Influx of new weaponry. Are you getting rid of the old stuff? You getting rid of the new stuff, or what are you doing?
There'll eventually be some that will outclass it, but I'd have to see the two weapons not side by side, but I ought to use them one after another to see which one I do like better. If it does have a raid thing, I think eventually it'll just be outclassed by just your preference. So I'm not too beholden to one weapon, but I will try to find one. I'm never gonna let go of my Vision of Confluence until I find Vision of Confluence 2.0 or whatever.
I like that. I like that a lot. What about you, Agrios? I know that you play an insane amount, and you must have a crazy influx of new weapons. Have you been phasing out your old stuff, or what?
I'm a sentimental bastard. I hung on to certain things that I've used for just hundreds of hours in the game. For the first part of the game, getting started, things I got early on that were viable until the whole way till now still viable. I have an attachment to it, and I probably won't ever get rid of some of them. Like the Supremacy sniper rifle that I got from the Queen's Wrath event. It's really unique. I really, really, really like it. I never used Predator's Revenge at any point because it's good enough. It's actually a little better in a lot of respects. Its stability is just as good, and it has armor-piercing rounds on it and such, so I like it a lot. But things like that, I'll just probably never get rid of. Part of the thing, you said, you didn't have the patience to transfer weapons back and forth. Part of the way I retain more space is every character I'm not using is all vault space, because I transfer an entire vault full of weapons every time I switch characters.
That's right. That's right. I forget that that's your answer to that, because I don't know. That's pretty good. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's a really great way of doing it, because then you know where everything is. It's either on one of your characters or it's in the vault. My vault is stuffed to the brim, and each of my characters has way too much. I almost don't want to go running Vanguard rocks, just because I know I'm going to be getting a pretty good amount of blue engrams, and the more space I have for them, the longer I can stay in that playlist with, possibly some cool random people. So yeah, I don't know.
I've also started to collect the armor as you have. I'm working on Warlock Tengu Operant variants 3, 4, and 7, I believe.
Got it. Yeah, I picked up a pair of that Tengu Operant gloves, and I think that I'm going to be using those to fill in this place until I get that Locust Watcher. Have you seen those helmets? Those ones are awesome.
I have.
Man.
I did have one, like a set like that I had built and hung on to at some point, and then that was one of the ones that got deleted when I needed space long ago when I was contemplating collecting things.
Yeah. Right
I'm a
on. Well,
completionist, so I instinctually want to collect all that stuff, but very, very quickly realized that I couldn't collect anywhere remotely near the amount that I would want to collect in this game, so I put that to bed a long time ago.
yeah, yeah. Sadly, me too. There's a lot of stuff that I would really like to continue to collect, but yeah, until it comes down to more vault space, I'm just screwed.
I hear you.
All right, what do we got next, Agrios?
Well, that's it for the main portion of the news, though I do have some other things coming from the community. There's an interesting article on Reddit this week about using the sun and things like that, the seasons and the shadows and such, to try to determine the location of the tower on Earth. Now, before the game even came out, based on pictures and images and the way the mountains look and things, there was already a good discussion about where the tower may be, but obviously we've been able to learn a lot through lore and things by now. Using the way the sun passes and the angles of the shadows and such, an approximate, he was able to determine that we have to be in the southern hemisphere, and it would be somewhere near the 29th degree of latitude. Because of a variety of things in the game, he's picked somewhere between Argentina and Chile on the 29th degree. There, we may is where the likely location of the tower is. Have any of you ever done any contemplation of this?
Maybe just a little bit, but not to Hardgrove degree there.
Yeah, I've read quite a few theories on it, and I'm very interested in it. But I did most of this before the game came out. Once Destiny came out, a lot of my research mode left so that I could fit in more game time, more opportunities to pick up cool stuff. But this is awesome, and I wonder if we'll ever get some kind of, confirmation. Like if there will be like a specific clue that just is clear to everyone.
Well, there was that person that used like the backdrop of the mountains and matched up almost perfectly with Mount Kilimanjaro.
That's my favorite opinion. There's a lot of other evidence supporting that too. It's like the cradle of life and everything.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
It's not far from where this guy figured the location to be as far as the 29th degree latitude in the southern hemisphere goes. Although I have to give this guy credit, a lot of the things the Cryptarch says makes you think you're in South America.
Yeah, like what?
Let me grab the list here real quick.
Well, while he's grabbing that list, keep in mind, we know the Cryptarch is always lying.
Nice.
That's the Cryptarch's twin brother.
How about those Crypty Cream donuts that Bell put out on Twitter, man?
Those green filled donuts, man. They look so good.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah, that was funny. It made me hungry for donuts, though.
Oh, me too.
And that's sad. Who wants to deal with that?
I'd probably still eat those donuts anyways.
Absolutely. I bet they're delicious.
Uh-huh.
Did you grab it, that Agrios?
I'm on the page. I'm looking for the list of actual quotes. I haven't found it yet. I thought it was in the main part, but apparently it's down below somewhere.
We can get back to that later.
Yeah, we can go back.
Just want to point out something. Belle put a thing in the chat room for you, Remy, and she did say that Deej directly acknowledged that they are very aware that we all want/need more vault space, and wishes he had a time frame and an answer for us, but he isn't allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. Thank you very much, Belle, for commenting. I feel like between that and the information that what was it, Destiny DB was able to pry out of the code, talking about like a space or a spaceship vault and like a vault for shaders. Like I think that this is all fine and dandy, but this doesn't affect the 20 spaces in my regular weapons, and I would love to be part of the conversation that's going on right now. I mean, does anybody else here on the panel feel like it could be something like I'm thinking could be something as easy as just adding another 20 sections underneath the original 20 sections? You know, like I feel like there's enough room on the screen to add space. You know, like I can't imagine that they're going to want to have like paging, like instead of it all being on one list, having it here's the 20 spots and then you can page over to another 20 slots. Like that seems like a ton of rigmarole.
Well, it seems to work okay with the roster. Whenever you go to your friends list and you R2 to go through your pages of friends, I don't see why it couldn't be like that.
Well, totally, but I'm not trying to compare their impact and their, stability.
Oh, right.
I'd have to. I'm not pulling them out of games to talk to them about what they're able to do.
Well, I want you to think about something, Remy. Remember how we talked about how we've accidentally deleted some gear?
Yes.
Do you think that would be more prevalent if we utilize that same space with 20 more slots of gear?
Well, as far as I know, you can't delete it from within the vault, right?
Right.
Good point. You got me there.
So, but yeah, if you could delete it from in there, yeah, that would be nuts.
It'd be terrible. Oh, and I did accidentally delete something. Finally.
Oh, continue. What is it?
It was a void shotgun that I was using in the middle of the Crucible. And it was great because it had that focus fire thing where you extend the range. If you zoom in, that was beast. And I was trying to switch to it. And, it was Crucible. And I was in the middle of a firefight. And instead of pushing A to do it, I freaking held down X. And I didn't realize until afterwards that what I had. I was a little disappointed, but I'll find it again eventually.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I haven't made another mistake like that since we last talked about it on the show. And that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good that I haven't. And it makes me feel sad that you have, but I'm glad that you shared it with us today.
Oh, yeah. Not me.
What were we talking about? Who was next? Oh, we're talking about that.
I'll
Continue.
go next. Doing vault space stuff, honestly, what I feel they need to do is they need to do something like our regular inventory menu that is tabulated, but put like 100 slots on each. You go to your vault, your first one's armor, and there's 5 rows of 20 or however they need to do it to make it work. 10 rows of 5, but they could fit 100 or 10 of 10. They could fit 100 slots on your screen, I'm sure. Or you just scroll down just a little bit more on your screen. And then you tab over and you've got your weapons. You tab over and you've got like all of your inventory. There's other stuff that I've seen that might be lending to a tabulated vault. I don't really want to talk about it just yet because we'll see how it might change. But that's kind of how I feel, is just turn the vault into a whole bunch of tabs that you can quickly go through and grab your stuff.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. There's two things. Number one, I know that the smaller storage space that they've given us is partially there to help with clutter. Like there are pack rats in any community, and I'm one of those people who will fill up the vault no matter what. Like I'm going to fill it up either with stuff that I need or with stuff that I just don't want to throw away. And so I know that part of this is you have to choose what it is that you actually want to use. You can't use all of these 20 weapons at the same time. Or actually, I guess in Agrios' case, he does. But that's a specific case where you're moving everything in and out at all points in time. And I think that that's pretty sweet. And so how much room do you have to pick up engrams and stuff? Or are you not worried about that? Do they just go to the postmaster?
Well, that's the backup, but I mean, you're not exactly, if you're not like farming for them, you're not exactly accumulating them that quickly. When I run, my character, when he's in the field, has 2 open spaces in every place. So the people I'm not running, their inventories are full, and then I move enough weapons back and forth with my vault to have a full, like a play set. And generally, there's 20 weapons that I play with at a given point. That actually, there's 21 slots I run on a character. Now, there's a couple I've duplicated. Like you said, you bought an Icebreaker for every character.
Yeah.
There's a couple categories in there that I've managed to get a similar enough weapon that I don't need to move this. Like when Murmur came out, that was nice. Okay, I don't need a fusion or an arc rifle. I got one on all my characters. That's one less thing I need to move back and forth because it was better than any I had. Now, I still do, on one of the characters I'm not running, sitting in their inventory, is a Light/Beware level 300 arc fusion rifle, which is better for regular Crucible than any other fusion rifle I've ever found. So I hang on to it for that purpose if I ever really want to get into using that fusion rifle in regular Crucible.
Yeah. And you know what? This goes back to I want to be able to star or lock equipment. Like this wouldn't have happened for you, River, if you were able to star that shotgun. Like if you could have just locked it and said, look, under no circumstances do I want to accidentally delete this, like this would have been really perfect for you. And it actually would help me a lot too, because there are some weapons that I absolutely do not want to get rid of. And then there's weapons that I keep because they could be useful. I would really like to be able to, at a glance, just see that. Some of these icons are just a little bit too similar to these other weapons where it's, well, that might be really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where were we?
Almost to the end, I think.
Almost to the end, I think.
Wrapping it up. That's all I got for the news for the week, and we've pretty much discussed everything we have to discuss. Anybody picked up any hard mode weapons yet?
I'm actually about to attempt hard mode right after the podcast.
Cool.
Hey, you'll be doing it before me.
Well, we're not going to win. We're vastly underleveled, so if you guys want to check it out, I know Bell Bunny is going to stream as well as Twisted Shots TV. So come see the mayhem.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
Good luck.
Oh, thanks.
Well, then, why don't I take us to comments and questions. The first comment was put by Pop Shot Panda, who says, much like the universe we exist in, Destiny is equal in vastness. We do not know where Bungie will take us, but my fellow Guardians, I can guarantee that in the end, Destiny will exceed your wildest imaginations. Well, that is what I believe. Winky smiley face. Don't lose faith, Guardians. Help Kinder Guardians and kill Crota. Keep up the great work, Guardian 1 Network. Well, thank you very much, Pop Shot Panda. I absolutely agree. And I don't really know where or why I feel this way. I don't know why I feel this, but I feel like Bungie is going to, in the end, when all is known, Destiny is going to be this amazing experience for everybody of all walks of life, all kinds of gamers. I think it's going to be something that's, I don't know, like people know what Halo is. Even people who don't play video games know what Halo is. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's going to exceed our wildest imaginations. I got a pretty big imagination, and I have a lot of stuff on my wish list for this. Anybody have a comment for Pop Shop Panda? Alrighty then. Moving on.
Said it all.
Moving on to Mike Edwards. Hey guys, love the show, and I'm on board with the new direction of Guardian 1. The idea of meeting new friends, Guardians, and lending them a hand sounds fun. Let me know how I can help. Keep up the great work. Well, Mike, thank you very much for your comment, and also thank you for your comment on the direction Guardian 1 is moving. It's been a slower movement than I would like it to have been. Like there's so much that I want to do and so much that's an obvious need to be done. But in order to really have staying power, I needed to take a step back and just look at what Destiny was, what Destiny actually is, instead of focusing on all this other cool stuff that I want to do. Where is my Forge mode? That's all I'm saying there. But I will definitely be in contact with you, and perhaps we can brainstorm on what it is that you can do. Basically, for anybody who's interested in the direction that we're going and helping out, what I want to do is tailor these specific experiences to each of you, but have a guiding principle. Like there's ideas that are specific to the whole thing and ideas that are specific to you. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do something that they can't. Everybody has their limitations. Everybody has what they want to do, and I want this to be fun and great for everyone. So thank you for your comment. Okay, the Pony writes in, and he says, how's it going, Pony? He says,
hey, Pony.
Hey, G1. First, I would like to say, since release day, September 9th, Destiny has been immeasurably one of the greatest experiences in gaming I have ever had, and also on the flip side, quite disappointing because it seemed to be missing so much vital content that would help me lose myself in Destiny for a very long time. Agreed. Looking now to the present, I am playing Destiny nearly every day and enjoying in-game content from weekly strikes, nightfalls, and raids. I find myself poring over mail sacks and articles published by Bungie in the vain hope that I can try and glean what future lies ahead for Destiny and ultimately us. Many times Bungie has said that Destiny will continue to grow, as in the world expanding and growing around the original content. Truth be told, I have absolutely clung to this theory. It is my absolute hope that this remains true. Going forward, PvP for the foreseeable future of Destiny is missing private matches, and Forge mode is not even uttered in hushed tones, and I understand a little more why these things are not present in Destiny. I am coming to the realization that when an artist paints a picture, he uses techniques he has learned over many years of practice. Each time on a blank canvas, he paints something different. Bungie is that artist, no matter how painful for all us fans. We need to let them explore their ideas fully because we, the community, will benefit in the long term. My question to the G1 team, how would you feel playing original vanilla Destiny content from Book 3 without changing discs over? Would it be great to be able to access Day 1 content in all editions of Destiny in a growing universe? Does Bungie have this in mind when they made Destiny, considering that there are empty ghost slots in your Guardian customization menu? If it interests you, please discuss this. I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on this subject. My best regards to all at the G1 podcast. JFX Bengals, the Pony. Well, Pony, thank you for writing in. Always great to hear from you. I would say that that's exactly how they're going to be doing it. Like this, the steps are a place where every new Guardian will go. Like, to me, it only makes sense to have all of this content because this is where we all learned to become Guardians. Was on the Earth and then the Moon, and then Venus and then Mars. Like it's stepping stones to where you're going, and I can't imagine that after all the work and effort they've put into these first areas, I can't imagine that they're going to take it away. I mean, this is how WoW works, right? They started with an original plot of land, and then expansions bring in additional sections that you can go and visit. I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me. River, what do you think about the Pony has had to say about this? Do you feel like these beginning areas are going to be maintained in the game, or do you think that they're going to start over?
I'm going to have to agree with that, and this was actually my initial vision as well to what Destiny was going to offer for the future, is that it was just going to build on previous iterations such as Destiny 1 and just open up everything else, and everything's just going to be available to us depending on, which iterations that we own. So say somebody who has number 3 isn't going to have access to everything that's in 1 or 2, and that'll happen. They'll have all that stuff that's in 3, but that's just how I met. Like you said with WoW, I mean, that's how they do it when in MMOs. And since this is kind of their FPS MMO blend, I feel like that's the direction it's going to be going. And I sure hope so. I hope we're right.
Right. I hope we're right as well. Warlock.
Pony and I kind of had a discussion about this, and I would like it, but at the same time, I also would like to see change. And the reason why I'd like to see change is that would make me feel like what we're doing is actually pushing us forward. I'd like to see a time when, because we're on Destiny 3, that there's a settlement in old Russia, but now we're calling it New Russia or something, just something that pushes the story forward and it doesn't seem to stagnate. I mean, it's a classic thing of MMOs. You've been playing an MMO for so many years, and there's been enough heroes going through Goldshire from World of Warcraft that there shouldn't be kobolds in a mine anymore. They should have all been cleared out by now. Just things like that. Like, I mean, I understand you need to have that experience as a new player, but at the same time, like, I would have preferred to see a lot of progression happen, and that's kind of what I hope for Destiny, is that eventually what we're doing shows that there's an effect on the world.
You know what? This is a very good point. This is a really good point. Progression, things changing. You're totally right. After millions and millions and millions of people have come through that area, it should be cleaned. It should be like completely dry.
Well, let me ask this.
Such a funny point.
If I too, I agree. I would like to see this progression that we're talking about here. But let me ask you this: what happens, after Destiny 2 comes out, and now the steps are a tiny little Titan fort that Guardians deploy from into the further regions of the Cosmodrome or something? What happens to the people who come onto PS4 and go to GameStop and buy a used copy of Destiny 1 and load into it? Is it a different game? Are they in a different world on different servers than the Destiny 2 people? Or is Destiny 1 at that point just like a shut-off server type game? Like Titanfall will be eventually just non-existent because it's online only sort of situation? Like, will the Destiny 1 disc, so to speak, eventually become that and Destiny 2 be the only world? Because with World of Warcraft, I know they have expansions, but I mean, do they release a whole new, just like call it a new game? Like Destiny 2 will be a new game that your Guardians will carry over to?
This is a really great question. This is a really great point.
I think a lot of this we could go really deep into this, I think.
Right, we could sit here and figure this out for them.
Yeah.
If they'd only ship over the details of what they're working with, we can help out a lot.
You say MMOs just add-on content, but like World of Warcraft, one of the expansions completely retooled most of the original starting areas.
Mm-hmm.
So it was completely different. And
right, but it was an expansion to the game. Like, everybody who came in, that's the way the world was. Like, that's what I meant. Like, so what happens when the people go back and buy Destiny 1 on the console? What happens?
Right. Well, this affected Destiny. This affected the original owners of the game, like someone that just bought the game. This all changed without even buying the expansion.
They'd get a day one patch.
Right. Well, it was a patch that changed everything.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And also, there's Guild Wars, like the first set of Guild Wars games. Like, they had expansions that expanded on the content, but each was their own standalone game at the same time.
So do you think then when Destiny 2 is released, Destiny 1 will get like a patch the day that Destiny 2 is released, and they'll just basically get most of the Destiny 2 world for free and just like not get access to the new Strike and Raid or something?
Well, most likely everything that they want to go to, like if they wanted to go to everything new would probably require the expansion.
And that's what I mean. If we're changing the old stuff, if it's not there anymore because we've reclaimed the Cosmodrome, then the old stuff's not there for them to do anymore.
Right. Well, I have a
That's
feeling
that's my question, I guess.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they might update some of it, like they did with the Luke Cave. They added that tiny little Easter egg, but I don't think they're gonna change it completely because that's still gonna be something that someone's gonna pick up someday. Or they could
go ahead,
like
Chaz.
if they make a Destiny 2, well, we know they're going to make a Destiny 2, but when they make Destiny 2, they could also just have it be entirely new content and not touch on old content at all.
Right. I think that's the question. I think that's originally what I was trying to get at there. Like, are they going to, like, because we were talking about we'd like to see evolution, like the steps be cleaned out and whatnot. But if the steps are cleaned out, then those missions can't still be there.
Right. It would have to be a completely new, probably not a new Cosmodrome. They'll probably just go to a different place on Earth and say, like, that place is done. We don't have to go back there. Let's not talk about it. I don't have time to talk about it.
Well, and having evolving zones like that would really make you a legend, I feel, in the world. You're running around with just maybe a shader that isn't available anymore for whatever reason. It's a rare shader now that you can't get, but that makes you part of your legend. That's part of your story is I was here before you and I did all these things and I have this.
Yeah. Yep, I see that.
I was going to say that it can make available a lot of the new stuff to new players, just available to them for free. Because look what we had with Dark Below. They had all kinds of new stuff available for people who had vanilla Destiny.
That's true. That's very true.
So if they do make those kind of changes, I wouldn't be surprised if they just made that stuff, specific things available. That's all I'm saying.
Right on. Well, thank you very much, Pony, for writing in, and I hope that we discussed it to your liking. Our last comment comes from Kyle. This is actually Tanner's brother. He says, you should talk about how they need apartments in the game and other things to make it more personable. Like bartering between players in a fair way. Also, dumb stuff like hunting wild alien animals that aren't affiliated with any of the races. Also, they should have like fishing and ship building, as well as speeder bike races and courses, time trials, and spaceship battles in space, obviously. I have all sorts of great ideas. Ha ha ha. Let me know if you think any of my thoughts are good. And they are great. Kyle, these are all great ideas. These are things that I've wanted for so long. Like speeder bike races, I thought were a given, from the beginning. Same thing, really. I figured. I really, really, really thought there was going to be space battles. I'm really, really, really looking forward to more space. Like I want space battles. I want the ships that I've picked up to mean something. Like some of them have specific, like there's that one Phaeton with that dome on it for long range scanners. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. Also, I do think dumb stuff like hunting wild alien animals that aren't affiliated with any of the races, that would be cool too. When I read this, I thought to myself, it would be cool if there was like a really giant animal that that just tried to kill everybody in its area. Like if one of those holes on Venus was like a home for some giant creature, and it came out, every so often and destroyed the dudes in the area. I think that would be really cool. River, what do you think about this? Is there anything on this list that you specifically are looking forward to?
You're talking about apartments and stuff, and I always imagined that our ship would be like our apartment. You
Me
also
too.
mentioned like mannequins and stuff. Well, I imagined that maybe mannequins would have been in your ship, or for your raid gear, or whatever gear you wanted to keep, or some wall, or for your trophies and stuff, like the head of some fallen hell or something like that. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was hoping, and I'm disappointed that we didn't have something like that. However, the way Bungie works, maybe we can have something like that.
Yeah, I would say that we could definitely have something like that at some point. And in the beginning, when they started showing us our ships and talking about how important they were to the game and how you got around, I thought that we would be able to walk around on them and there would be storage areas, for weapons that you really liked. But I feel like when they sat down to determine what was actually going to be in the game when it released, they had to cut a bunch of the really cool stuff, and I feel like these are really really cool ideas. Well, specifically, I thought you'd be able to walk around your ship and invite people over to your ship, but I really wanted to get into the hangar to get a size analysis on the ships. But when Eris pulled up in her ride, and I can jump up right next to it, it's clearly something that the cockpit just opens up and then you sit in it. But I don't know.
Kind of like in that first mission, when you first get your ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's a one-seater. And I understand that, but that doesn't mean that there's not room for larger ships or even like space stations. Kyle was talking about
Space
large,
bus.
right? Something like this.
Mind you, that first ship kind of makes ships seem like Pokeballs. They just kind of zap you into it.
Yep.
Hilarious.
Nice.
Hilarious. Crimson Warlock, is there anything on this list that you really want as well?
I would like to see like more varied wildlife on the world. Honestly, I was kind of disappointed that on Venus, this really cool jungle world, we didn't see like any wildlife. The only place I've ever seen wildlife that actually makes the world outside of the tower feel alive is there's a few birds and old and you can scare them. So that's one thing that I kind of wish were in the world a little bit more was just wildlife, and even if they're not interactable, if it's not something that you can attack, just something would make the worlds feel like they are still alive despite the conflict. There's still things going on when you're not there, kind of a thing. That's kind of what I'm missing. But as to like personal space, I feel like the only logical place for it to be and fit in the lore is on your ship. Because as Guardians, as much of a social game as it is, we're not really kicking back at the tower with sipping cold ones. We're fighting. So on your ship is almost like the only place.
Oh no, we lost.
It seems like having an armor rack or a gun rack would fit.
Totally, that would be really cool. But then what would happen if you decided you wanted to change ships? Would it just be a universal loadout? No matter what ship you went to, you would just have these things? Because it kind of seems to me like the interior would be vastly different. Like it'd be at least as different as the outside looked.
I've thought about that a lot, and I honestly think it'd be pretty cool that the next time you went to the tower after you equipped a new ship, there could be like a skippable cinematic that showed you moving on to this new ship or something. But another thing that I heard from King Gathalion, he's a big streamer for Destiny, but one thing he was talking about was, put our vaults on our ship and kind of make all of our 3 characters part of a crew. These Guardians are friends. They're part of a crew that work together, and that would make it more logical that you share vaults on your ships.
Man, that would be cool to see your other characters in the ship. Like you've taken control of one, and then there's your warlock hanging over there, and here's your titan over here. Like that would be so cool.
It would be almost a really easy, transparent way of switching characters if they could figure it out. You know, if they could figure out that you go to your ship and you walk over to your higher low level character and you interact with them, then it switches your point of view, and that's where you're at now. Like you don't have to sign out, log back in. I mean, it would be almost impossible, but if they could do it, I think that would just be so cool.
That would be really cool. That would be really cool.
It would make transferring inventory a lot easier too. Like, what if you could just walk over to your Titan in your ship? Like, there's a vault computer area, and then there's like you could walk over to your Titan and like open your other Titan and take, switch a primary weapon with them, or go to the vault and switch a primary. You know what I mean? You just switch anything you need in the ship there. Then
that would be cool. That would be really cool. This kind of goes back to something that I read about or heard about like a long time ago, where Bungie was talking about that they absolutely were going to put out the same experience on the older consoles and the next gen consoles, and I feel like what we're starting to talk about here are the things that did not make it because the Xbox 360 couldn't run it. There's a lot of resources involved in the things that we're mentioning here. So yeah, I imagine that the Destiny 2, or whenever they decide to go next gen only, it's going to be such a different game than the one we're looking at right now. I mean, I hope. And even if it's not, I will still continue to play this game. I love Destiny. Destiny is still all I think about. I mean, granted, I do still want to play Alien Isolation. I still want to play, there was something else that came out recently. Oh, I wanted to play the remastered Resident Evil, or whatever the port that just showed up. But those things they're all games. They're all tiddlywinks in comparison to this. So yeah, Jez, anything on this list you like, you are looking forward to?
Well, they're all like interesting things that you basically can find most of those in most any MMO, which is kind of sad why it's not in any other game. Like, there is like a Diablo type game called Torchlight that has fishing, which is just this mindless thing that you do to get things to feed your pet. But like, just the problem with fishing or something like hunting in Destiny is right now there's no reason to do that. Like in most MMOs, it's to gather resources for consumables, but that's all taken care of with not having any consumables in Destiny, except for your Glimmer ones.
Crazy. That makes a lot of sense, and that's what I was saying. Also, like there's things that would be cool to do in Destiny, but at the same time, like where does it end? What are we trying to release here? What is too much?
Not sure where it fits within the current game that we have.
Exactly. That's a really great point. Agrios, why don't you finish off this conversation? We'll do shout outs and then we'll split.
I want it all, and I want 10 times more.
Great answer. Was that it?
I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kyle, for writing in. These are all great ideas. I'm glad that you are on the same page. I'm glad that you've had a chance to play enough of the game that you're now thinking about these other things, because honestly, speeder bike races, if there was a Crucible playlist for Sparrow racing, I would live in it. Like, it would be so much fun. I actually have really been practicing my Sparrow sliding and carving out the turns. Like, I'm really ready to begin Sparrow racing. That is what I want to see next in Destiny. I want a playlist with Sparrow. On top of that, though, I really think that the Crucible should have its own maps. Like, I think instead of the Crucible being, here's already these maps that you play in vanilla Crucible, I think that the Crucible should have its own map set. But that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, thank you again, Kyle, for writing. Shout-outs, Agrios.
I want to shout out to SDF River. Make sure you turn your brightness up on your TV so you don't fall in a hole.
Thanks, I actually forgot.
Word.
Jez.
Shout out to One and Done. Congratulations on World First. Welcome to the club.
Crimson Warlock.
I'm going to plug myself tonight. I've seen a lot of people follow me on Twitter and other places. So if you just want to follow me, my Twitter is at Crimson Warlock. My PSN is Crimson Warlock. Rivers is at SDF River. Jez is at Ready Set Bacon. Remy is at Dear Bungie. And Agrios and Dendros is at Agrios and Dendros. If you want to follow us on Twitter, go right ahead.
Great shout out, Warlock. I've been thinking about like an overlay for the show so that when people show up here, they will see our names and then our Twitter links, our Twitter handles. It's a really great idea, and thank you. River.
I would like to tell everybody to give a Twitter follow to @Andrew_JRT. Actually, just ran into one of his YouTube videos, Clueless Guardians, and it's hilarious. It's really funny stuff, and I just ran into that today. So go give him a follow and check out his YouTube channel. I promise you won't regret it.
Awesome. And my shout out is to everybody listening right now. I really love doing this show. I really love talking about Destiny. I really appreciate everybody writing in. And I would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardianwhat.net, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.